If you're familiar with the word imbibe, you might naturally think of it as a synonym for drinking. To drink something, to imbibe often is used in the context of drinking something and often for alcoholic beverages specifically. However, that is not the only definition for the word imbibe. Imbibe can mean to absorb, to drink in, but not just drinking in a liquid, but drinking in an idea or an experience. It can mean to take in, to assimilate, to bring something in and incorporate it into one's mindset, ideology, being, existence, so on and so forth. So what do ISFPs imbibe? Not in the sense of what do we drink, because obviously that's going to be totally different for everybody. But what do we make it a common practice? What do ISFPs make a common practice of imbibing or of assimilating or of taking in and absorbing into one's own self? Well, all people imbibe all sorts of different things. We have to. It's an absolute necessity to get through life. We must imbibe ideas, we must imbibe experiences, and so on and so forth. However, each of us, based, I think, largely on our personality type, will it be prone to, sort of geared toward imbibing certain things. Now, in the objective personality model, there is this concept of consume. We could think of consume as just another word for imbibe. Consume in objective personality is, they call it an animal. It helps me to think of it more as an energy. We all put energy toward imbibing or consuming things. However, some people have a very large amount of energy dedicated to bringing in, taking in, and assimilating. Therefore, for those people who have it very high, who are very dedicated to imbibing things, they are doing it unconsciously. They're doing it all the time. It's a regular thing. For those who have the need or the energy to consume or to imbibe very low, for those people, it is something that, of course, they do. They have to. We all must do it to get through life. But it isn't a top priority. So they're more oftentimes shut off or cut off from putting themselves in a situation to bring in new information or experiences. For the ISFP, I think that generally speaking, imbibing, consuming, taking in new things is a very high priority. But what's important to remember is that for each of us, our consuming function, our function that is really dedicated to going out and bringing in new experiences, new information, new anything, is our extroverted observing or perceiving function. So for some people, that's going to be extroverted sensing, and for others, that's going to be extroverted intuition. Those who have extroverted intuition are going to be more dedicated to imbibing ideas, possibilities, philosophies, concepts, patterns. But those who have extroverted sensing as their primary imbibing function are going to be more dedicated to imbibing or bringing in, absorbing, experiencing more of the physical world, more of the tangible, the things that we can see, taste, feel, hear. We're going to be very dedicated to experiencing things and bringing in things that will fall into the classification of the physical. Now, if one has their extroverted perceiving function very high, so like an ESFP has extroverted sensing as their very first function, or an ENFP has extroverted intuition as their very first function, then taking in new, gathering in new is going to be an extremely high priority. For those who have it very low, so like let's say an ISFJ, I'm sorry, that's right, I'm sorry. An ISFJ who has their extroverted intuition as their fourth function, or someone who has their extroverted sensing as their fourth function, so an INFJ, let's say, then as a general rule, gathering in new information, new experiences is going to be not such a high priority. It's going to be a lower, something that they devote less energy to overall. They will tend to expend their energy in other places besides in gathering in new. For the ISFP, that extroverted sensing, the need to gather in the physical world, is their second function. So it's relatively high. And so the ISFP is going to generally be a gatherer. They're going to be an imbiber. The ISFP is going to want to bring in new. And it's going to be, not only is it going to be a high priority to them, but it's going to be something that they don't even, in a sense, need to prioritize because their mind is just doing it for them. They are naturally, whether they're realizing it or not, wanting to go out and gather in new experiences and new things from the physical world. Now, why? Or let me ask this another way. To what end is the ISFP out there imbibing the physical world? Well, for the ISFP, they are imbibing the physical world for the purpose of satisfying, pleasing, meeting the needs of their FI, their introverted feeling. So the extroverted sensing is out there gathering in experiences and gathering in the physical world, the things that can be seen and tasted and so on and so forth, but for the purpose of serving what the FI, what the introverted feeling, really largely has already decided that it cares about, that it likes, or that it values. So if the introverted feeling of the ISFP values, let's say, waterfalls, then the ISFP is going to be extremely dedicated to going around gathering in the experience of seeing and hearing and experiencing new waterfalls. They might plan road trips to go see waterfalls. They might be like, my ultimate goal is to go see Niagara Falls. Who knows? If the FI of the ISFP is dedicated to shiny silver objects. Now, I'm being a little bit silly. I'm oversimplifying, but maybe not. Let's say the FI is just really dedicated to coins, okay, for whatever reason. Shiny silver coins. Then the extroverted sensing is going to be burdened with the task of gathering in, of imbibing as many coins as possible, right? So this person might create a huge coin collection. Whatever it is, if it's unique foods, if it's certain types of places that they want to go, if it's certain experiences with other human beings, it really can be anything. Whatever an ISFP's FI latches onto, the SE from that point, the extroverted sensing, will be a slave to going around and gathering up as much of whatever it is that the FI values as possible. Now, that will look different in, let's say, an ESFP, where the SE is first and the FI is second. In that, I would expect, and I think I see this to an extent, that for the ESFP, they would be more dedicated to gathering for the sake of gathering the physical world, and then the FI will figure out along the way what it likes. For the ISFP, we tend to be more like, no, I know what I want, I know what I like, and then we just must go out and gather it. Now, the way that came out in me when I was young is I had a huge hockey card collection, a huge football card collection. I valued the sport of ice hockey. I valued the players. I valued knowing their jersey numbers and some of their statistics and so on and so forth. And so my SE was tasked on behalf of my FI with going out and gathering in whatever it could to feed that love for the sport of ice hockey and all things ice hockey related. So I watched games upon games upon games upon games. I collected all of the cards. I memorized all of the players' names, their numbers, a lot of their statistics. I knew so much about ice hockey because my FI had latched onto it and said, this is what we love, now go gather it. Even younger than that, I was a huge, and still am to this day, I don't want to say fan. Fan seems like such a strange word for this. I enjoy and am fascinated by military aviation. So at a very young age, I wanted to gather in not only information about specific planes, but but I would like to watch movies that involved military aircraft. And then I began working military aircraft models and so on and so forth. For a time, my FI latched on very heavily to Native American history. And so I had to go and imbibe all of the movies I could find about Native American history, all of the books that I could read about Native American history. I was just consuming, imbibing, but for what purpose? To please my FI, because my FI latched on to something, okay? So right now, honestly, we just got this new 55-gallon fish tank, and I have always loved fish. And so now what I find myself doing is I am imbibing websites about the proper maintenance and care of pet fish, because we have the tank up and running, but you got to let it run a couple weeks before you can get fish. So I'm just imbibing information about fish because my FI has latched on to I love pet fish. So my SE is now the slave to my FI. My FI is saying, okay, SE, we need you to go out and gather everything that you can about pet fish so that we will know everything that we need to know. And ultimately, my goal there is really not to know everything that I need to know, but to have the fish. And so really what I want to do is I want to gather in the fish. And why do I want to gather in the fish? So that I can sit and look at them, pretty much, which is pleasing to my SE, but it also makes my FI happy because I like fish. Now, everyone is going to gather with either their extroverted sensing or their extroverted intuition. Everyone's going to gather from the physical world primarily, or gather primarily from the abstract, the intuitive, the theoretical world. We will all gather from both. We must. It's an absolute necessity to survive, to live in this world, that you gather from both. But some will be very dedicated to gathering from the physical world, and some will be very dedicated to gathering from the ideological world. And we will all gather for the purpose of pleasing either, or taking care of meeting the needs of either our FI or our TI. So we will be either gathering in those things to either please what we like or figure out what we like, or for the TI, we will be gathering in things to either to figure out how to make things work, or because we think we know how to make something work, we want to gather in all the information necessary to make it work, or all of the physical world necessary to make it work. So the SE is always working with the FI, or for other types, it's working with the TI. And the NE is always working with the FI or the TI to gather in the information necessary to take in the things we like and make things work. FI, the things we like, TI, make things work. And we all have some mixture of either NE or SE, extroverted intuition or extroverted sensing, and either FI or TI, introverted feeling or introverted thinking. And so your consume energy, your imbibing energy, is going to be used to gather in either the physical world or the abstract world, to either figure out or please what you like, or figure out or make things work. Now, the need to do this is going to differ dramatically among types. I have a very high FI and a high SE. So I have a very high need to take things in that I like. An INTP would have a very high need to take in ideas in order to figure things out. We all have some grouping of these functions. But someone like, let's say, an INTJ, their need to gather in information for themselves is much lower. They have a natural need to spend their energy on other things. And so gathering in will happen. They will do it. They will have to do it. But imbibing things, gathering things, consuming things is not necessarily very high on their priority list. Therefore, when you see an ISFP gathering up whatever, they become a collector of the physical world, or they're dedicated to, I want to go to this place, I want to go to that place, or I want to go eat that food, or I want to experience this or experience that. It is most likely because their FI, their introverted feeling, has already decided, I like those things in general, and so I need to gather them up. When you see an ESFP doing something similar, it's probably because they're trying to figure out what they like to some extent. They're just gathering everything. That's just what they do. They gather the physical world. And then they'll figure out what they like along the way. And as they figure out what they, like the ISFP, will then gather in more, That's what they do. Everybody does it just a little bit differently and for different purposes and to a different extent, depending on how devoted they are to it, which I believe depends largely on their type. Now, I'm largely taking this whole concept from objective personality. So if you're not familiar with objective personality, you might want to go check them out. There's a lot of really interesting and good information in there. It doesn't always jive completely with MBTI, so you have to really analyze both and say, this is what I see. But what I would challenge you to do is what I did. I took in the information and then I just went out and observed people to see what is really true. Are the things that I read in MBTI what I'm actually seeing in the world? Are the things that I hear from objective personality what I'm actually seeing in the world? And of course, the reality is frequently it's a little bit of both. But I found this topic to be very interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. And also, I'm hoping that I'm going to, or my plan is anyway, to do a similar video for other types as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. If you found this video to be entertaining, informational, or useful, please give it a like. And also, if you have any desire to donate financially to what I'm doing, there will be a link in the description for you to do that. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself an awesome day. Bye now.